First, thank everybody. Thank Charles and all you guys that have had this club going, because I wasn't even into audio 5-6 years ago. My first meeting, I met several of you, but like Rodney and John were just there to be friends and to help guide a confused guy that didn't know what he was doing. Met Charles at my first meeting. And it's been a heck of a journey, not only with the audio, but just with the friendships. And I probably value the friendships more than the audio. And speaking of friendships, we just went to IBM Acoustic Labs to test some of my stuff. And never been there. Charles decided to ride up with me, and I got a couple of pictures of Charles. Here he is in their anechoic chamber, misbehaving. Here he is in the same chamber being told to behave. Yeah, and on the way up, real briefly, we go through D.C. And I don't know if any of you guys spent much time with Charles, but tongue-tied is not the first word I'd use to describe Charles. I'm driving through D.C. It's 8 o'clock at night. I don't know where I am, and he did his internship there, apparently. And I'm there, Charles, be quiet for a minute here. I don't know where I am, and I'm trying to follow the GPS on the highway. And a minute was the operative word. So I'm going down Constitution Boulevard, towing the big trailer, not knowing where I am, and getting the tour. And over there's the Capitol building. And I stop at a red light, looking at the GPS, and it's not working all that well. And all of a sudden it says turn left. And I look ahead, and the cop comes over a little crest and goes broadside, blocks the road, and turns these really bright lights on. Then another cop comes over and blinds me completely. And I'm waiting for the light to change and look at the GPS, and I don't know, we're talking. And I roll the window down, yell out to the cop that's out walking around it, hey, y'all, I really can't see. You're kind of blinding me with that light. And then so one of the other cop cars comes right up alongside me, and he's really blinding me now with another light that's on. And he says, are you lost? And I said, well, a little bit. GPS is telling me to turn left. He says, well, that'd probably be a good idea. You're not allowed near the Capitol with a trailer. And my first word was, oh shit, really? And it was really. And he says, you can go. And I said, red light? You can go through the red light. They're all red everywhere. So that was our welcome to D.C. And then Charles was talking about if he'd had his VA badge, everything would have been fine. And I'm thinking, yeah, you would have enjoyed that full cavity search if you started out. So anyway, that was it. So to make this pretty brief, I don't do public speaking, so I made a few notes here. Speaking is not uncommon for me, but making sense maybe. So this may help a little bit. I got to say, from my journey, room acoustics is not optional if you want full optimization from your equipment. The room is part of the system, and I had nightmares in my room, and I couldn't buy stuff that was going to work. And the big deal for me was below 50 hertz. I had a 27 hertz mode that wouldn't go away, and it was really annoying on some of my favorite songs. And I ripped 3 walls apart, re-engineered them, and it was fantastic for noise isolation, so I don't bother my neighbors when I crank it up at 3 a.m. But as far as the bass mode, it didn't work worth a darn. So it was back to the drawing board, and that's what I've done. At the corner towers, and you'll see there, measure down that I'm treating into the 20s very effectively. And they said it can't be done, but yeah, I can. I got the patent. We got the measurements. Took the stuff to IBM. Took 18 of them up there. And I don't have the results back yet. I'm not sure they're going to be as effective as I'd like them to be. One of the neat tests, we took another friend we met, and actually Mike introduced me to Bobby. He came up, and we came up with a new test because these things are dynamic, meaning the louder the input in the room, the more effective they are. And we were doing sweeps at about 75 dB. And we put in a secondary signal generator at 40 hertz and cranked it up an additional 30 dB. And it was a 1 second spike. The sweep lasted 6 seconds, and at second 5 we did the spike. And it was really pretty cool to see that you could tell where it happened, but it was like a 3 dB spike that was recorded. So it's the dynamics of the system works. Actually, we're going to call that, I believe, threshold technology, because everything needs a name, right? Now, in Charles's room, you'll notice diffusion on the front and rear walls. And the front wall scatters down to around 250 hertz, and I think the rear wall is scattering down to around 500 or 600 hertz. I can't remember exactly. They both diffuse up to over 18,000. And that gives you a lot of clarity. Annie, the first time she walked into the room, had a really neat description. She said that she could understand lyrics that she could never quite catch before. And that's with the clarity and the focus and the image. On the side walls, you may not have noticed, but on the sliding panels, the forward ones, the ones closest to the speakers, are of a thinner material, and they don't absorb near as much. So you're not deadening the wall reflection there, and that gives you a lot of space, a lot of breadth. And you've got more space effectively for each instrument, so you can focus into it. The rear ones, closest to the seating position, are thicker material, and that's covering the reflection. It's a first reflection, but it's from the far speaker. So the right speaker and the left ear, you don't want that information, so you want that canceled, and that helps with the imagery as well, and tonality. And that pretty much describes what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And this is my new diffuser, a lesser expensive one. I'm calling this the Foundation Series. The whole room I'm doing in 2 levels now. One is much less expensive. And this will be stained. This is going to one of the guys in Stereophile, actually. The whole room I'm doing for him. So we have the Foundation Series and then the Time-Space Series for the premium line.
What's the difference in terms of functionality between the Foundation Series and the standard?
This is going to diffuse up to around 10,000 hertz. Those go over 18,000. But those are just a lot more expensive to make, and these are going to be really quite affordable. Low frequency response is very similar. And
could you describe diffusion?
That's my question too.
It's scattering of the sound. You've seen the plastic bumpy light panels that go in the ceiling for in all kinds of cheap establishments with the suspended ceilings? That's a light diffuser, and it's just scattering the light. So the intensity is going, instead of a focus like a laser, it is just scattered throughout the room as much as possible.
So the total amount of light and audio energy stays in the room, it's just scattered evenly.
Yeah, we're scattering it, but in 2 ways. We're scattering it in space, and in this case, we're scattering it horizontally, and we're also scattering it in time because of the time delays. So the intensity is divided both spatially and in time. So instead of a quick, it's, how do you clap and make the sound last longer? I don't know. But that's what's happening with diffusion. You're getting the both things. You're keeping the energy, you're retaining it, you're not absorbing it. So you've got great ambience. But you don't have the intensity.
It comes in like a laser, comes out like a light bulb.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. And these always need to be used in an array. You need at least 3 of these to get the effect. And there's formulas for how far you need to be from it so that you avoid comb filtering.
What's the factor for, you said that these only go up to 10K, the other one's 18K. What's the difference on the upper frequency?
It's the spacing within the... This is a... there's 7 large wells here, and then there's 5 smaller wells. There's 7 smaller wells on the more expensive ones. And and also the other ones are finned all the way out, which has an advantage, but it tends to focus, where this will accept a larger angle of incidence. So it's going to be really fun doing the listening tests and the comparison between the two. I'm looking forward to that.
Is there a height recommendation for a diffuser? Bart? How do you determine when you go into a room what size diffuser I need to put in, and how do you determine length and width?
Okay, well, width is a formulation of the frequency response. So mine are going to be each one's going to be around 2 feet, 21 inches to 2 feet, to get the right frequency response of it. And then the array, how much do we have room for? On the front wall, I like to go speaker to speaker, rear wall as much as I can. And the second, or the last diffuser, you can ask John Shade about that. He called up one day, he borrowed another one of mine and put there, yeah, man, you won't believe the difference. And it's true.
The image, it was freaky. I had the speaker so wide, and it took the image and widened the image just to where the speakers were with actually a couple feet on each side. So it took it completely widened the image. It was just amazing.
Yeah, and let's see, how was it? The first diffusers I made, well, I experimented with polycylindricals because they're cheap and easy to make, and, well, you get what you pay for. So all that stuff went to the dump. Actually, the guy that hauls my trash away, his name is George. We're on a first name basis because I've had a lot of failed tests. And that's okay. You know, we do the math, we try the stuff, build it, and then it either works or it doesn't. If it works, how do we make it better? If it doesn't work, well, you know, at least we tried.
Go see George for some B stock.
Yeah, really. George's B stock acoustics. There was one other thing about diffusion. I really, if you're going to play with it, really don't waste your time doing it on the sidewalls because it can really it can raise havoc with things. You're going to screw up your imaging. There's probably a way of making it sound really good, but I haven't figured it out yet. So it's a powerful thing. Oh, and you've seen pictures where you've got vertical diffusion, and then on top you've got horizontal diffusion. It looks really cool. It works really bad. It destroys the depth of image. Completely shatters it. I've tried it 3 or 4 times in different rooms, and the results are predictable. So, you know, sometimes because it looks good doesn't mean it is.
Like a Carnegie Hall or another hall or Morsani or whatever, do they use treatment at all?
Yeah.
And are they using similar concepts in your stuff, or how does that?
Yeah, that's out of my league. I've read some of the stuff and looked at some of the stuff, but I don't want to mess with any of that. But I understand that there are sweet spot seats there just like we have our sweet spots. And trying to get a ticket for a sweet spot in a good auditorium is not difficult. It's impossible. So they're booked years in advance.
Bart, since you've got me into diffusion, I noticed that our church holds 1,300 people. There's diffusion all along the back wall. I never noticed it till you got me going on diffusion.
Yeah, no, it's important. It's critically important. The absorption rate changes because of the bodies, interestingly enough. So you get a different coefficient of absorption across the frequency bands just because of us and our clothing and the season. But the diffusion is a constant.
Bart, I got a question. A lot of us in the club have dipole speakers and or open baffle, electrostatic, ribbon, whatnot. How does room treatments and acoustic treatments vary in those settings?
Not a lot, surprisingly. Remember, I had dipole. And all of my stuff was voiced originally with dipole. I did all my testing with dipole. And then I got the Sonus Faber Strads, and everything has been tested here too. As soon as I find something I like, Charles has to come to my house and listen, then we drag it over here, and then he doesn't want me to take it if it works. Gee, that hasn't happened in a while. For at least 24 hours. So that's it. Oh, and then there's one other thing that you may not have noticed or it's never really talked about. But there's 2 panels basically on either side of the speaker that are 5 or 6 foot tall. Those are important. Those are real important. That takes care of the flutter echo or the slap echo from sidewalls. And it really does a lot as far as the tightness of the attack. Say a rim hit on a drum, it really gives it a crispness that you won't get otherwise.
Your layout is symmetrical. Have you tried asymmetrical on the sidewalls also?
My room is missing a wall.
Okay.
So the answer is yes.
My room is not symmetrical in position of
Well,
speakers.
yeah, those speakers are not.
The side
Yeah.
panels are not symmetrical either.
Yeah,
Those panels that you mentioned in the corner, are they absorbers or diffusers?
they're both. I'm using, well, it's my patent, so I'm really not talking about what's going on with it, but it is doing both, but not necessarily in the traditional kind of a way. But there is diffusion, there is absorption, And with some of the stuff I've done inside, I'm introducing a pretty significant time delay, which is giving a sense of depth because it's very three-dimensional in there. There's a really great sense of depth. And that actually, you get the same thing with dipole. Because that was one of my big things. Tonality was first. It had to sound good in any room. I mean, when I'm in the kitchen and the music's playing, I want it to sound nice. So I guess tonality is my first priority. But then it comes to the soundstage. I want depth. I want breadth. I just want to be able to visualize. I mean, I can't make a bad recording sound good. I can't make a lame system sound good. It's going to sound worse probably. But with a good system, yeah, then it's 1 o'clock and I really should go to bed. Just one more song. Oh crap, it's 2 o'clock. I really need to go to bed. Yes?
Have you ever incorporated cork into your design? There's one guy in the club that says cork all over.
Well, you know, I have to say no, but I've never been a fan of gingerbread with Chinese hot glue either. Just saying. Just saying.
Works well for wine, I
More wine and drink, better sounds.
May the cork be with you.
Question that Bart, maybe in your room, which sounds fantastic, I noticed the rug is actually not in front of the speakers. Normally you talk about trying to minimize room reflections, the floor reflections from in front of the speaker. Did you experiment with that and find it sounds better this way?
Yes,
Or?
I did, and it sounds better that way. And then move it back and forth, an angle, 90 degrees, 45 degrees. That's how it sounds right. You don't want to move that much effort. You have to, there's a balance.
Here, we could pass these around. We can see Charles having fun and Charles in trouble.
Hey, Bart, I noticed there's different styles and sizes of them. How do you determine what works?
Oh, the diffusers?
Yeah.
It's all math. It's really boring, but it's like building a speaker in a sense. This is one channel, one frequency. This is a second frequency. This is a third. This is called an N7, by the way. And I didn't design this. The physics of it is Schroeder and D'Antonio did that, and they patented it, rightly so, and they held the patent for 20 years. And fortunately for us, 3 years ago, the patent lapsed. So that's good stuff. But this is a diffuser within a diffuser. It's an N5 inside here. It's an N7 on the other ones. So it's the frequencies. The depth and the width of the channel control the diffusion frequencies. And when I did it, I just wanted to do the best I possibly could. That's why I went up to over 18K with those. But the price kind of...
Thank you for doing that.
The price is well, it's expensive to make. It's real expensive. I can't make those myself. And so it gets really crazy. So one of those panels retail for me to make money is $1,800. And in Charles's room, there's 5 of them. At Expona, I was using 4. I used 5 again at Rocky Mountain, where we got the awards. And so not everyone is blessed to do that. And of course, Charles didn't pay that kind of money for it. And if any of you guys are interested in anything, I'll work with you as best of my ability to help you. But selling to you guys is not part of my business model.
Question for you about the trip to IBM. What was that? What do they have there that you went to experiment?
Well, they have a reverberation chamber that I wasn't really impressed with, and their technology and their privacy. But we took 18 of the tower units, the corner units, up there to measure the low frequency response to prove what you're seeing there in those graphs, that I'm treating below 60 hertz very effectively down into the 20s. And I wanted a rock solid institution, or seemingly rock solid institution, to support my claims before I actually make them online. So that's what the road trip was for. But a road trip is fun. Kind of reminds me of the college days and high school days and the gap year days. My gap year lasted more than a couple of days, but...
We didn't go to the diner.
You're right. We did not go to the
Charles,
diner.
why don't you tell us about your system, the components, the upgrades?
Well, basically, my system, the main upgrade upgrade since the last time has been the amplifiers. You will see them, the SS series, and that's fantastic. We upgraded all the wires, which are wire world now, the Titanium 7. What else did we do with the wires?
Well, your amplifiers, you got the new PAS amps.
No, that's,
Yeah.
no, well, that's what I mean, the pattern.
Yeah.
I said, preamp. We're trying to upgrade the computers to what we can do with that. I think it sounded really good. Instead of having to go with the volcanical transport, as you see, it's not working very well. That's why you use it. And that's basically what it is. But I would say the big difference has been voice. That really has helped significantly. And everything he said, that's
See these here?
and the reason it's there is just because it's true and I like it.
Great. Any other questions for the Motley Crew?
Yes.
I'm trying to hide, yeah. I was trying to get off stage.
That's where the anechoic chamber was?
Yes.
Did you ever listen to stereo in an anechoic chamber?
Not as such, but I had Bobby over here and Charles over here.
I would definitely sound different inside that chamber.
Oh, it's a strange place.
Very strange sound when you call.
They have two anechoics. They have the one and then they have the Hemi, where the microphones rotate. It's really pretty cool stuff they have.
Same rotates.
The last one was for testing hearing aid booths. They are not used to doing what I needed them to do.
I was curious how they would have something medical or appropriate for audio testing.
Yeah, there's it's. I don't know. I'm going to wait and see what I get from the data, if there's anything useful or not.
Is there standard with saving units, whatever they use?
Yeah, which is a questionable measurement anyway. It's going to change with humidity. It's going to change with the reverb time, the natural reverb time of the chamber, and the volume. So everything affects that unit, and so it's a pretty useless unit to use, actually. I would think that in this day and age we'd have a much better way of measuring things, but we don't. And they don't want me to show anything that shows in-room comparison because they don't want anyone to see what their room is like, proprietary information. So that's not really going to be very helpful. Hopefully we can get something out of the thing where we did the energy spike and taking a 30 dB spike at 40 hertz and dropping it from 30 hertz down to sub 5, dB gain, which is really, that's cool. But but they won't give me that in a certified because we did 10 sweeps with it, and they need to do 50 to have it as a certified result. And again, with their proprietary crap, I don't know what of that they're going to let me publish.
I'm curious, did you measure in Charles' room with the XTZ room analyzer also?
Yeah, that's what we have here.
Right. So what's the RT60? Did you guys measure that?
Yeah, the RT60 and frequency response, we've got it. Everything's got the diffusers in place. It's only the corner tower units we measured before we put them back in when we got back from New York, and then with them in, and then the third one is with the subs calibrated. So you can see the difference. It's kind of interesting.
What's the first one?
That is untreated. Okay, this is a frequency response to the room with the towers not in the room.
The fuses on.
Yeah, the diffusers are there, but that's it. And then this is the time decay, which is the RT60. Notice this big peak and this big trough.
This is what we have now.
No,
right?
this is what you have now.
Okay, this is without the diffuser.
This is without the corner towers.
The corner towers,
Yeah.
but with the diffuser.
Correct. And then this was what happens when we just put it in. So what we have done is we've dropped this peak way down, we've brought this trough way up, the harmonics up, and we just leveled it up hugely. And this is happening at 30 hertz and 20 hertz. This is about 27 hertz, 28 hertz.
So you have
this
to
peak,
there,
big peak.
and you took care of, and you
Yeah, and this trough I brought up. And the trough is, and this kind of shows what's going on. You got wave cancellation. The same tone, 180 degrees out of phase, is going to cancel, so you get nothing. If it's on top of each other, it's going to give support. So it'll make it louder. And that's a peak and a trough. That's what's happening in the room. That's room modes, done real simply. So we can say, wherever it is, that this is a quarter wavelength of the space of the speaker off the back wall. You get the speaker, you get this quarter wavelength back, becomes a half wavelength, and that's cancellation. It's really, a lot of room acoustics isn't really difficult to understand what's going on if it's presented halfway decently. But you've got that happening all around the room. You've got that off the back wall behind you. You've got it off the side walls, off the ceiling, off the floor. So you got all this energy going all over the place, and that's where you're getting the peaks and troughs from. So you want to control the bass as fast as you can. That's why the front corners are really important for the initial, for the bass control. Just kill that energy as effectively as possible, as fast as possible, so it can cause as little mischief as possible. Bass is like a 2-year-old, or evil spirits.
Have to hear it. So.
And this one?
Okay, that is the one with the subs and my stuff. We put my stuff in, and then we calibrated the subs, and that is a really beautiful flat line, and that's with the DSP, the digital control, and the Velodynes, and the DDs have got a very nice user-friendly, well, semi-user-friendly. It's really easy with me because Charles does it. But that is, and it takes what, an hour and a half to do that? Yeah, and that's with 2 subs. So there's a left channel sub and a right channel sub. But that is a beautiful baseline response as measured. Some people prefer more bass. And a lot of us are used to listening to speakers that have a hump at 100 to 200, and they do that hump because they can't go down low enough. So it's a matter of taste and what we're used to. Something really interesting, and we noticed it a little bit at Expona, and a lot more actually at Capitol Audio Fest. People that were used to boom boxes and lo-fi preferred the untreated room.
Sure.
The bass was muddier and boomier, and there wasn't a lot of clarity in the mids and highs. That is it's a matter of the reference.
That is the reference.
Yeah, and it's legitimate. We have taste. All of us hear the same. Some of us have got more high frequency loss, and maybe some of us will hear low frequency differently, and are what we're accustomed to.
And you would say that they like that better.
Yeah, I mean, it was a small percentage, but if we went with the socioeconomic, racial thing and did it, everyone fits in the box pretty much, with over 99% accuracy, I would say.
Interesting. Sad, because that's what these people are growing up listening to as their new reference.
Yeah.
Sad.
Even in live.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant to say real quick also, in the next meeting, there's a manufacturer that's based out of Naples now, Dynamic Sounds Associates, is going to be hosting our next meeting for an incredible demo you can see online. Please RSVP for that if you haven't already. Thanks to Ernie for helping them get a room at Sun City Center for that meeting and that venue. In March, actually, we're going to John Shake's for a combined meeting with Sarasota guys. That'll be phenomenal.
Yes, it will.
Unique system that he's put together. In April, we have George Lindsay planning on hosting. Bart is May, and I might do June. We're still working on that, but again, if anybody's interested in hosting for the remainder of the year, please let us know. And again, we might need to do more and more mini meets, which is a good thing, I think, for more serious, smaller scale listening.
Right.
So everybody, if you have a small venue that can't accommodate the large crowds, host a mini meet, or as few or as many as you can accommodate.
Great job, Bart.
Thank you. Annie, thank you for your wonderful
Oh!
How much would this change if you weren't using subwoofers?